Do you believe that you can heal yourself? Too often, we give our power away to something outside of ourselves, and rarely, if ever, trust and tap into our innate healing power and intuition. Everyone has this capability to heal in ways we never thought possible. It's your sovereign right to claim and have true health and lasting wellness. Now, here is the host of the Dr. Dolores Show, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in our wonderful world. Welcome to another episode on the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, your host, and we're on Inspired Choices Network. And this episode, I think we're going to talk about embracing choice and navigating life's crossroads. How often are we on the precipice of creating something different, or moving on from situations that are no longer aligned with us? So, today's episode, we're going to talk a lot about this and some of the ins and outs of how you could embrace, choice and make those pivotal decisions that you need to make. So, just a little bit about the description of the show. In this transformative episode, Embrace Choice, Navigating Life's Crossroads, join your host, Dr. Dolores, that's me, as we delve into the intricate landscape of decision making. Explore the profound impact of choices on the tapestry of your life and empower yourself to navigate with newfound wisdom. From the seemingly mundane to the life altering, discover the artistry behind every decision. So, many of us are at crossroads in our lives right now. I mean, if we kind of look what's going on, there's uber uncertainty in our world right now, and nobody really has a reference point as to what's next. I joke about this because people say, well, can't you check your crystal ball and figure out what's going on? Well, the crystal ball kind of shattered back in 2008 when the economy took a nosedive, when the housing market went bust and the banks went bust and so on and so forth. And it seems like from 2008 to the present, there's been a lot of uncertainty, and things are constantly changing and in flux. And I think what is happening is this is like we're being amped up and geared up to be more in the present moment, um, every day and every day since then, because really the only thing that we have is the present moment. And a lot of us get all bent up and tied up into things that are not allowing us to flow in the present moment and keeping us stuck. So some of us are just, attached to things, saying that, what, but what if, we are attached to things, and let me rephrase this, because we are fearful of what's possibly next. And what we could see is a sure thing versus something that is unknown. And when you take that a step further, if it's not something that is aligned with where you want to be or where your soul is leading you to go, sometimes we go kicking and screaming and we are wanting to hang on to something even though it has really outlived its purpose. There, it has expired. There is an expiration date on it, and it's time to move forward. So when we are able to relinquish our attachment to things, I feel such a liberating concept that it allows us to be more in the flow of our lives and just allowing ourselves to flow down the river and just allowing ourselves to embrace the ride and know that the universe always has your back no matter what is going on. We're talking about having massive blind faith and trust right now. And this is what it's about for everybody. Nobody is exempt to this. So, I want to talk about some of the points to address when we are embracing choice and navigating through our life's crossroads. A lot of times we when we're self-aware, it's so much easier to make more conscious and more discerning choices for ourselves and what's going on, basing because you know what you're all about. You have an idea of who you are. You know what your values, passions, and strengths and weaknesses are, which are all, crucial aspects to determining who you are. And this is how, when we're self aware, you know these things about yourself. You know yourself better than anybody else would. But yet, on the flip side of that, we have a tendency not to believe that and give that power away to something outside of ourselves to make those decisions for us. So it's really about embracing your self awareness and really leaning into what you're being led as your next step. I always joke about this with my friends and my colleagues and my clients that sometimes we get so caught up in the W's and the H's, the what, who, where, when, and how, that we take us out of the natural flow of things. Instead of wanting to try to figure it out, I invite you to try something different, especially if you're one of those people that is always wanting to be organized and figuring it out. And, on, it's almost as if you want to be a control freak sometimes, just to control things and manipulate things so things are showing up nicely in your life. I invite you to pivot and flip the switch and just allow yourself to flow. And when you flow, you're in your body and you're in the present moment, and it doesn't really matter what's coming next. You're just allowing yourself to be. Another thing to look at is clarifying your goals. Setting clear and achievable goals allows you to move into the direction and allows you to make a better choice for yourself. Are you leaning into what's next, or are you pulling back? Follow that. That's like kinesiology. Your body is kind of, working with you. And if you pay attention, go to where you're leaning into something versus being repelled by it, because this is a better possibility for you. And it's probably more aligned. And it's like the invisible language that your soul is talking to you about. So you're able to make the right direction, make decisions for the path that you're on. Assessing your options. This is where critical thinking comes in. Looking at all the possibilities and the potential outcomes and weighing the risks and benefits of each choice. Yes, and feel into it. Does it feel like a yes or feel like a no? You may have all your options and the risks and benefits for every choice that you're doing, but if something feels off to you, then don't do it. This is about trusting your innate wisdom, your intuition, your inner wisdom, your inner barometer to assist you in those decisions. Everything may look great on paper, but if something feels off to you, trust that, because usually it is true. We're moving in such a time of mass uncertainty because nobody has a reference point for what we're experiencing. Nobody has ever been through what we're experiencing before. It's about accepting the uncertainty without judging or criticizing it. It's about just allowing it to be as it is, and knowing that, admit to it if you're feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling uncomfortable with this, and just, allow yourself to embrace uncertainty, because you could be certain about that uncertainty is going to be around for a while. Like I said, we're circling back to trusting your intuition, because it's really about our intuition these days. And it's just trusting our innate wisdom and innate instincts. And I believe that humanity has been um, duped and dummied down into not trusting that. We've been listening to things outside of themselves that just say, oh, that's just a bunch of malarkey. That's not true. This is the way to go and do it. And you know what? it may be the right way for some people to do it, but it might not be the right way for you to do it. So please always trust your intuition. It guides us to making the right choices, not for anybody else, but for you, uniquely for you. Seek advice, seek counsel, seek a coach. If you're, working through something and you're not quite sure what to do next, get some insight from other people that could offer you some consulting, or just to so you're able to be heard. I think the most important thing is that people want to be heard, and sometimes they just need a sounding board just to verbalize what's kind of going on in their mind so they could get it out. And sometimes you're able to see that. I know for myself, I'm the type of person that will call a trusted friend and just say, hey, I need to just speak for about 10 minutes. Could you hold the space for me while I do that? And a lot of people will do that. And I do the same for other people as well, just holding the space so you're being heard. It does a world of good. Okay. Always embrace change. Change is an uncertainty, are constants. I could also say that change is a certainty. So is uncertainty a certainty? And the list goes on and on. But change is always happening. Yes, it would be nice in another time and place that if we could keep things just lovely and delicious all the time and not have to worry about anything. But where would be the growth opportunities be? If you're not experiencing change, you become stagnant. Okay. And when you become stagnant, you aren't learning anything and you are staying stuck. So if you are the type of person that is resistant to change, I invite you to take a step and pivot a little bit to maybe take baby steps towards embracing change. And because I know that it will greatly enhance and enrich your life, because it'll open up doors and possibilities that you probably didn't even think were possible. When you're able to get out of your own way and allow change to flow through you instead of it bumping up against you, it's like you're able to have Teflon on your aura. It's just like things will just kind of coat off and not really stick to you. I really would love to have that superpower even more so. How about you? So embrace change and allow it to um, enrich your life, and allow it to provide the opportunities for you to move forward with a lot more grace and ease. And also, we label a lot of things sometimes as wins and failures. And I want to rephrase that. I believe that they're all learning and growth opportunities. We label them as positive or negative, or wins or failures, but it's a natural part of our journey. We are here on Earth, like I've said before, we're here at the University of Earth earning our PhD and being human. And these are just growth opportunities. When you put yourself in a box and isolate yourself from experiencing anything, like I said, you stagnate, you don't grow, and you wilt, and you could die. So just allow yourself to learn from your failures, or whatever you label them as, or your setbacks, because sometimes what we feel is a failure or setback was actually a stepping stone to get you to where you need to go. Look at it from that perspective. Sometimes when something happens to you, just know that you're getting upgraded. It's not a bad thing. It's just we label it from our interpretation of it. Oh, this is because we focus on gloom and doom sometimes, and fear, because we have this fear of the unknown. It's just like we just don't know what's going to happen next. Our natural innate our We want to know what's going to happen next so we could be prepared. And, that's like functioning from fear instead of functioning from blind faith and trust. So these are all about, we've been talking about embracing choices and navigating life's crossroads today on our episode on the Dr. Dolores Show. And you are listening to the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. And we're going to be going for our first break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about things that you may consider to be influencing you, not allowing you to embrace choices in your life. So when we come back from break, we'll talk more about that.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We've been talking about embracing choice and navigating life's crossroads, and how, some of the things that we can do to address, embracing choice when we are at those crossroads. So I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we're here on Inspired Choices Network. And we're here every Wednesday from 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live. So catch us live whenever you get a chance. We'd love to have you on in our audience. So before break, we kind of talked about some of the things that are important: self-awareness, clarifying your goals, seeking advice, learning from failure. And, it's also about taking responsibility too, personal responsibility, because our choices, we're here, we're sovereign beings, we have free will, we make choices. Everything that we do is a choice. And I know that's a stretch for some people because they think that other situations around them created that. No, it's how we respond is where we have the choice. So taking responsibility for your successes or what you label as failures, and own your decisions and learn from them. And like I said, sometimes when things happen, you're actually getting upgraded as you move forward. So, some of the things to remember that stop people in their tracks from moving forward, like we were saying, fear of failure. People, feel like, oh, they dipped their toe in the pond once and it was a bad experience. And it's just like they're having PTSD, reliving the experience over and over again, and it keeps them stuck. So, just sometimes it's just easier to just take the plunge. And if something is really scaring the crap out of you that you've done before and you've had some bad situations with it, I invite you to acknowledge what you're feeling for sure and also do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. There's that little saying that somebody coined way back when. I can't remember who was the the person who actually said that the first time, but it's so true. Sometimes what you fear the most is what you need to do in that moment. Sometimes people have this perfectionistic um, attitude that everything has to be perfect before they move forward. Well, we did a whole episode on perfectionism. So scroll back in our previous episodes on the Dr. Dolores show because you'll find that insightful and helpful if you are somebody who is a perfectionist. Um, striving for perfection can prevent you from taking action because you're always waiting for it to be perfect. And it's like you go into inaction. The mindset can lead to procrastination and reluctance to move forward. So please, please, please embrace your perfectionism and just allow yourself the grace to move forward. Another thing that happens for people is they lack self-confidence. Sometimes if we have low self-esteem or our energy is low and we're not feeling good about ourselves, we undermine ourselves and our abilities and our belief in ourselves. And um, this can really cause a lot of problems for you as well. So I embrace you. I embrace you to look at your self-esteem and your self-worth and also your self-confidence, because those three things are kind of interconnected together. And sometimes when we're not feeling good about ourselves, it's just like we go down the perpetual rabbit hole. So when you find that you are feeling not so good about yourself, it's time to pivot, use your self-awareness and realize, oh, I'm beating myself up. What can I do in that moment to shift that to something more positive? It might be just altering your self-talk and just allowing yourself to receive the messages that you are loved and appreciated and valued for who you are as you say this to yourself. And that might be a stretch for some people to start, but baby steps. Keep doing it on a regular basis, daily, or even, a few times a day until it starts being an automatic thing for you and you really start feeling it because your vibration's going to increase. People sometimes resist stepping out of their comfort zone as well. They're familiar with their current situations, and it's like an old couch. You get very comfortable sitting on it and you really don't want to buy a new one because you love the old one because it's so comfy and juicy and delicious. Well, sometimes, you know, it's time to change out the couch. Okay. We need to upgrade it and to get something that's a little more aligned, especially if it's all beat up and it's starting to look really raggy and stuff like that. It's about allowing yourself to enjoy what you have, but also know that it's okay to attain something different. So step out of your comfort zone, do something different that you would not normally do. We have a tendency to become creatures of habit, and sometimes we need to change our routine to shake things up a bit in order for us to get the energy flowing or to air out our brain. Sometimes if you're stuck in the house, I know for me that if I'm feeling a lack of creativity, I just need to get off the couch and go outside and just sit in nature for a little bit and just breathe the air, feel the sunshine, and just observe what's kind of going on in the yard. That is getting out of your comfort zone for some people. For some people, it may be, running a marathon if they're not used to run, if they can't even walk a mile. That's getting, that's anything that's going to stretch you and get you out of your regular routine. A lot of times people are on overwhelm that keeps them stuck from, moving forward. And, sometimes the overwhelm could be just all the noise in the environment, especially if you're an empath, intuitive, or highly sensitive person, like myself and many other listeners in the audience. It's like we get overwhelmed extremely easy. And that could interfere with how we handle things and how we show up. Sometimes when you're on overwhelm, the best thing to do is to pull yourself back. And I consider this an act of self-care, removing yourself from the situation, just so that you can regroup rebalance and realign yourself. And just remember the saying too, we are sovereign beings, okay? So nothing can come into our energy field unless we allow it. So just a reminder, just say to the universe, by the laws of the universe, if this is not my stuff, it needs to leave my space immediately in the name of the laws of the universe. And usually it'll shift when it's not yours. So then you're able to discern, okay, what is really going on, and if, where I need to go with my next steps. Sometimes we lack clarity. It's like we don't vision things to happen. How many of you are dreamers? How many of you stop dreaming because, you've been disappointed so many times? When we lack clarity, it's almost as if we stopped dreaming. And many of us don't dream big enough. So I invite you now to just dream big. Just think about what you want to create, how, what it would feel like to have that, and just dream bigger and bigger. And I'm not saying bypass how it's going to happen. It's just don't put a lot of attention on the details of how it's going to manifest, because that's the gift maybe that's coming to you that you have no idea, and you don't want to be um, I want to say, you I would like to be pleasantly surprised as what's to come versus, thinking that it's got to look a certain way and it's got to show up a certain way. To me, that's like being in control and trying and dreaming from fear versus dreaming from trust and knowing. Okay. So just allow yourself to dream big. Okay. And that's where you're going to have more clarity come in. It's just magical how that happens. A lot of times there's external pressures, from family, peers, society. And, a lot of us have a lot of responsibilities. And that leads us to sometimes being in conformity and feeling obligated. And sometimes when that happens, it could lead to resentment. So a lot of times external pressures are things that, we have taken on, we put on our plate. And sometimes we put too much food from the buffet on our plate, and it's like you can't eat it all. So it's okay to, I'm going to say set boundaries, but also clear your plate a little bit. If things are not a hell yes for you, then don't do it. If you are not feeling it, don't do it. It's about leaning into what you're aligned with. Don't do things out of obligation, because a lot of times when you do them out of obligation and you're not really showing up 100%, you start getting resentful, and it's like having a half-baked loaf of bread in the oven, okay, when you pull it out. So I just invite you to look at your external world and to see where you're taking on way too much and more so than what you really should be or need to be doing. Watch your, sometimes the negative self-talk that we have in the quiet of our mind, that nobody else could hear it but we can, because we're talking to ourselves internally. And our negative self-talk and our limiting beliefs, we have a tendency to undermine ourselves with that, and it affects our confidence, our self-efficacy, and it creates barriers to hinder our progress. So it's almost like being a saboteur, indirectly, but directly. So really watch your self-talk. And we did another episode on the Dr. Dolores show on your words and the power of your words. It's so, so, so important to really, really be aware and mindful of that, because remember, your power comes in your ability to pivot and flip the switch. Okay. Your self-awareness, you're the one that's going to be able to determine what you're doing and how you're doing it, how to change that. Sometimes we have a lack of support because our friends, family, and colleagues don't support what our vision is. And I have one thing to say for that. surround your people with others who share your vision. These are your people who are your tribe members, who support you, who hold the space for you, allow you to be heard, and seen and valued and appreciated, loved and respected. Those are the people you need to surround yourself with. A lot of times when we don't do that, we are influenced sometimes by these other individuals, maybe on an unconscious level, and it's kind of interfering with our success. So it's about us setting boundaries of what you're going to allow in your space. And lastly, you know what? Sometimes past traumas and failures keep people scared or disillusioned and making it difficult for them to trust themselves or others. So, lingering emotional wounds can create barriers to progress and hinder individuals' ability to move forward with confidence. So, know that, we've all had things happen, we've all had experiences that some of them are not pretty, yet, when we look at it from a witness perspective, that we witness this and just the growth and learning from learn take the gold nuggets of that experience, not ignore it, but embrace that and thank it for providing the wisdom that you gain from that, and just continue to move forward on your path. Because just because you label yourself as failed once doesn't mean that you'll fail again. It's a whole different time, a whole different place, a whole different set of scenarios. So I invite you to stay in the present moment as you move forward. And you know what? Don't forget about what you experienced. Get those gold nuggets from those experiences and take them with you as you move forward. So I can't believe we're getting ready for another break, but you have been listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we're on the Inspired Choices Network. And we've been talking about being able to pivot and embrace choice and navigating life's crossroads, and what to do when you get to the point where you need to jump off the precipice and you're not sure exactly what to do. So stay tuned when we come back, and we're going to talk more about this delicious subject. So stay tuned.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back. We're in our third segment of the Dr. Dolores Show, and today's topic is embrace choice, navigating life's crossroads, because we are constantly at our crossroads. It seems like every decision we make leads us to our next place we're going, because we're creating in the present moment, because everything's happening at this time. So, earlier in the episodes, we were talking about the things that are important for embracing choice and navigating life's crossroads. And we also talked about some of the things that really hinder people from moving forward in their lives and keep them stuck. And I'm hoping that this has given you some gold nuggets so that you're going to be able to look at things from a different perspective and maybe embrace um, change instead of thinking that it's like the worst thing that could possibly happen. Yeah, we're all creatures of habit, and we just love consistency. And you know, we've gotten a real big dose of inconsistency in life as of late. And when it's interesting when you observe what's going on in the world and humanity, when it seems like the ante's up, it's like it, when there was even more uncertainty, it's like there's more chaos and more drama and more stuff flying around the universe around you. And it's just like, because you think you're the only one going through it. I have news for you. Everybody's going through it. So everybody's witnessing it, but everybody deals with it in different ways based on, their previous experiences with choice and navigating, when you get to a crossroads in your life of what's the next step to do. And, I feel the most important thing that I could share with you is that everybody's experiencing this. You're witnessing it with individuals, with big entities like, in the financial world, the healthcare world, the educational world. Lots of changes are happening. It's like old paradigms are crumbling because the old paradigms were built on, maybe fear, lack, possibly, abuse of power and greed. Okay. And humanity's ascension and evolution is leading us more to love, community, abundance. When you look at those two things, there's a huge dichotomy there. It's like we are actually pivoting as humanity evolves. And of course, people who are still stuck with this lower vibrating paradigm, when people are losing control, sometimes they get really attached to things. And so they're clinging on to this as if, you know, it was the leg and you're a pit bull grabbing onto the leg of that, not wanting to let it go. But yet it's an old paradigm that's no longer working, but yet you still want to hang on to that and not trust what is coming that might be even better. So we're in a big state of just having a lot of blind faith and trust. And when you're able to have that within yourself, that's all that matters. Okay. It doesn't matter what they're doing, in the world in another place and time. Focus on you and how you are showing up. Because when you're able to come to peace with what is happening, embrace choices, and when you get to a crossroads, instead of panicking and going down the rabbit hole of fear and doubt and what ifs and what's going to happen and trying to figure it out, I invite you to step into just being right here, right now. Ask your higher self or the universe, show me my next step. It's not about how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? When is this going to happen? Who am I going to meet? Blah, 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 blah. It's not about that, because as you notice, when you start questioning stuff with the W's and the H's, you pop from being in the present moment up to your head. And it's not about being in your head right now and trying to figure it out. It's about just being in the flow of what is coming and allowing yourself to tap into your inner wisdom and the ability to make the right choices, not for everybody else, but for you individually. because this is what it's all about. And it's not about being, people will say, well, that's selfish. And what about humanity and everybody else? No, everybody's responsible for themselves. Let's say that again. You're responsible for yourselves. Sometimes yourselves haven't been on the list of your to-do stuff ever. So it's really about being able to step into your innate wisdom, listen to the voice within yourself, trust the information that you're getting, and allow this to lead you to your next steps. So when you sit in quiet, maybe your next step is to sit and drink a cup of coffee, or maybe sit and read. Follow what the information that you're getting. Just allow yourself to be in the flow of what is happening. If you're feeling the need that you need to go for a walk, go out and go for a walk. You're feeling the need that you need to go on the computer and look something up, by all means do that. You're being led to what is your next step. And when you're in that flow of that, you're able to receive what is already in your energy field that is there for you. It might be vibrating at a higher frequency than where you're at. And by you having a cup of coffee and relaxing, guess what? Your energy level is going to go up, and then bingo, you see it, or it's made available to you. It's a different concept and a different way of manifesting, of creating, and also having more grace and ease in your life. I don't know about you, but for the longest time, 20, 25, 30 years ago, it was just like pushing a boulder up a hill, trying to make something happen. Yep. And I'll tell you, was successful temporarily. And then I acquired an autoimmune condition. And then that wasn't nice either, because when you are trying to make something happen, you're removing yourself from the flow of your life. I invite you to marry the two together. Get your divine download and then go into divine doing, as I say. Whatever the information you're getting, then go out and do, and then come back and then get the next piece and then go on and do. You're going to have more real estate available in your mind space than you ever had. And this is going to allow for your creative juices and your ability to get what I call divine downloads from your higher self that are going to allow you to move forward and do what's next for you, not your neighbor, not your spouse, not your kids, but for you. So, what are some of the things that are important to know when you're going through major changes in your life? Acceptance, okay? You want to acknowledge that change is a natural part of your life. Resilience. We talk a lot about resilience on the Dr. Dolores show because it's so important, along with self-care. Making yourself a priority and not only doing the mani-pedi and the facial and the massage, that's superficial self-care. I'm talking about deep dive self-care, about going to the dark places of ourselves that are running the show, that are really not in alignment with who we are. And the only way that we could do that is to do an archaeological dig on ourselves and to find out where those gold nuggets are, and to embrace them, take them back, and integrate them to where they need to be currently in our lives. Being flexible, seeking self-support and focusing on what you can control. And when we come back, we're going to touch on the control thing, because I thought that was an interesting thing to bring up. So once again, you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we've been talking about embracing choice and navigating life's crossroads and what to do when you're at those points. So come back and join us, and we'll be right there.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back to our show, everybody. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we've been talking about embrace choice, navigating life's crossroads on this episode on the Dr. Dolores Show. And we're on Inspired Choices Network. So, gosh, I can't believe we're almost done for the episode. But, you know, before the break, we were talking about some of the things that are important as far as you know, when you're at a crossroads and what things are to do. And you know, we talked a little bit about control, and I really wanted to touch on control because you know, people say, oh, you know, uh it's okay to control things and stuff like that. I think it's a double-edged sword. There's a fine line between controlling things and allowing things. And it's okay to control a little bit. I want to rephrase the word control because I don't really think it's control. I think it's evaluating more what is going on versus controlling. So, you know, when we have excessive control, some of the negative effects are this: it stifles your creativity. So you don't want to control things so much that it shuts you off, so you're not hearing the possibilities from your higher self about, you know, new ideas and innovation. It can cause conflict. Trying to control yourself or others leads to resistance and tension, and resistance within yourself for sure, because you don't want to move forward and try anything new and you're stuck. Maybe it's good old stubbornness. Stubbornness and resistance. You know, I think that's part of that. So if you have a tendency to be stubborn, look at where, you know, you're stubborn around, you're probably resistant to that very thing that you're stubborn about. When we try to control, it increases our stress. It causes a lot of anxiety and overwhelm. So when you're anxious, look at dive deeper and see what's really going on there, because anxiety is like a secondary to something deeper that is causing your physiologic and your body to and your mind to react. Okay, being uber controlling is hampers your growth, like we're saying. It keeps you stuck. It stifles your personal development and learning. um, Being controlling undermines trust. Yes, it does. It damages relationships and autonomy because, you know, when people are controlling, it's like they don't trust you, so they're trying to confine everything that's happening, so they have some control over you. And you could tell when somebody's really out of control because they'll up the ante and twist it a little bit, so their control monitor is off the charts and they're really anal. It's kind of funny to watch, but it disrupts relationships. Of course, when you have no trust, it's like the relationships start to crumble. It blocks joy. Oh my God. You know, I think it's so important to learn to laugh at yourself. When you have lost your sense of humor and your joy in your life, it's over, folks, because our sense of humor allows us to lighten up. Many of us take ourselves way too seriously, and it's about, you know, learning to laugh at yourself. Um, and also control, allow, you know, you resist change when you're in control because you're like dug in with your heels. And it makes it more challenging to adapt to new situations. So, things to remember as you move forward. It's not about controlling things. It's more about dancing and dancing and flowing with that, just like going down a stream or river. Just put your oars up and allow the thing to go and just move without attachment, and just allow yourself to do your best to, if you have to take baby steps on this path to do that, believe me, it'll be so well worth it. So the other thing to remember too is just celebrate your progress, stay present, and embrace your growth. And most importantly, make your decisions based on, or your choices based on what's going to make you happy, what is going to make you lean in, what is like a hell yes, and allow yourself the grace to take that step forward, to move forward. You will not be disappointed. Now, next week's show, we're going to be talking about surreal experiences. Like, you can't make this stuff up. I should change it to you can't make this shit up, because a lot of people would laugh at this because it's the truth. Next week, I'm going to read the description. Steps into the realm of extraordinary, of the extraordinary. I can't even say. Step into the realm of the extraordinary with surreal experiences. You can't make this stuff up. This captivating show takes viewers on a wild journey through the most mind-bending and surreal encounters imaginable. From bizarre coincidences to inexplicable phenomena, this episode is going to delve deeper into the unbelievable tales that defy logic and leave audience questioning reality itself. I think we've all had moments like this. And I'm actually going to open the vault and share some of my own personal experiences with this, because seriously, you can't make this stuff up. Really. It's just, it's crazy. So, we've all had those encounters with the supernatural where there is inexplicable twist of fate, or encounters with the inexplicable. Surreal experiences, you can't make this stuff up, delivers an immersive experience that will leave viewers on the edge of their seats, eagerly awaiting the next mind-bending revolution. And yes, it will be. It'll be an interesting thing. So join Dr. Dolores on a thrilling exploration of the extraordinary, where the line between fact and fiction blurs and the impossible becomes possible. With its blend of gripping storytelling and mesmerizing visuals, surreal experiences, you can't make this stuff up is a must watch for anyone seeking a glimpse into the unreal world of the inexplicable. Strap in, get ready for a roller coaster ride of unbelievable tales that will challenge everything you thought you knew about the nature of reality. So, like I said, we've all been there. We've all had interesting experiences. I think as more and more of us awaken, this comes more into reality for people, because it makes you question everything you've ever noticed or ever experienced, because you really have no reference point for it. It's just like, how did this happen? It's just like, it's crazy making. So with that in mind, just look in your life where it's time to make those changes that you're wanting to make. And maybe you're at a crossroads in your life. And, how are you going to show up for yourself? It's so important to check in with yourself, be fully present with yourself, and be connected with yourself so you can embrace the choices that you need and navigate life's crossroads on your terms. So stay tuned. Next time we'll see you, and just know that you are worth it and you are loved more than you know. So stay tuned and see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. Dr. Dolores returns Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, remember to be kind to yourself and create your best life. You are worth it.